All right. Back at home base.
Welcome back, boys.
Great weekend at the Senior Bowl. Going to get into a lot of that. But, David, good to see you again. How was Darby? Getting ready for baby number 3?
Yeah, she's a lot of pain right now, but we're getting there.
Getting there. So
this is the week.
When's the launch date for everybody?
So it's the baby will not be born after this Friday. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But it can come anytime before then.
That's the deadline. That's when the transfer portal closes.
That's when the transfer portal officially closes.
Nice, man. Well, we're all very excited, praying, and
thank you.
Hoping everything goes smoothly for baby number 3. But let's get into your fun fact.
You want a fun fact? It's Super Bowl week. It's Super Bowl week. Let's get it fired up here. The very first Super Bowl, 1967, when the Packers defeated the Kansas City Chiefs, the cost of the ticket to that Super Bowl was how much? How much you guys think it cost to go?
2 goats.
What do you say?
$3.
$12.
Okay.
$12 to go
how
to
much
that
are 2
Super
goats? In dollars.
A lot. Like
Depends on the goat.
Depends on the goat,
yeah,
right?
Depends on where you're from. $12 to go to the very first Super Bowl. This year, a luxury suite at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas is listed at $2.5 million. That gets you 20 tickets, 2 parking passes, food and beverage. That's $125,000 per person.
$2.5 million.
For the suite at the Allegiant Stadium.
It's just not worth it. Why would I not just watch it on TV?
$2.5 million.
If you don't have that money and you're not going to that suite, watch us Sunday for our live stream.
Yeah.
That's why
just
what's the food and beverage looking like?
I can't imagine.
You know? I better have someone just
feeding me
fettuccine Alfredo in my mouth.
Yeah, I better be laying on a couch horizontally getting fed grapes by a bunch of supermodels.
It's probably a bag of chips.
Yeah.
It's half empty.
Here's some Lay's and a Bud Light.
Yeah, here's some Lay's and a Bud Light. Yeah. The SEC and Big Ten have set up an advisory committee to basically take over college football. Spencer Rattler is the Senior Bowl's most valuable player, and the 49ers are now 2-point favorites in Super Bowl LVIII. I'm Jake Crane. Somebody get emotionally excited on a Monday. Welcome to Crane & Company. To everybody out there that is panicking about the direction of college football, I get that there's been big changes, but I actually think you should be excited. I don't think you should be panicking, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, this merger of the SEC and the Big Ten is a big step forward to the NCAA being taken out of being the middleman in college football. They're feckless. They have no power, and it's something that needs to happen. And this merger is the big step that we've been waiting on as this thing kind of speeds up. Because when you have the Big Ten and the SEC, the big dogs in college football, that is going to bring some set of rules back to NIL and the transfer portal because they actually have power. 3, we're headed to a 12-team playoff, and I hope and I pray that we have as much parity as we had last year, that's the new norm and not an anomaly. We have conference expansion, or as I call it, conference reduction. The SEC is adding Texas and Oklahoma. The Big Ten is adding USC, Oregon, Washington, and UCLA. The ACC, they're adding SMU, they're adding Stanford, they're adding Cal. That's not as big a news, but we are seeing better teams join bigger conferences, which is going to lead to better games. Now, everybody who's an ACC fan or a Big 12 fan that is worried that you're going to be left in the dust, I get it. But we have to remember, to the victors go the spoils. The SEC and the Big Ten are the big dogs. The ACC, I don't think, is going anywhere like the Pac-12. The Big 12 is not going to disappear like the Pac-12. But you are going to have to fall in line because you don't have the power. And probably the most important thing, the on-the-field product has never been better. Has never been better than it's been right now, and that is number one, and that will always be number one. To all those who are worried about coaches that are leaving college to go to the NFL, that has always happened. Stop freaking out about it. Liam Cohen from Kentucky had been in the NFL. Jeff Hafley at Boston College was literally on the hot seat going into this next year, and Jim Harbaugh is truly an NFL guy. There are some new paths being carved. You look at head coaches. in the group of 5 going to be coordinators at the Power 5, like Sean Lewis, who's now the head coach of San Diego State. That has nothing to do with the NFL. Kane Womack, leaving South Alabama as the head coach to be the defensive coordinator at Alabama, has nothing to do with the NFL. So, lastly, we are getting rid of divisions in big-time college football, which is awesome, which is going to give us the 2 best teams to play in the conference championship, so we don't have a Big Ten situation where you have Sister Margaret of the poor on one side and the big dogs on the other side. So while change does freak people out, I think we are actually heading toward the golden age of college football and hopefully college athletics. I'm going to bring in my good friend, soon-to-be father of 3, David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, my brother Blaine Crane, former Western State Colorado wide receiver. David, a lot of people are worried with NIL and the transfer portal. Now they see the SEC and the Big Ten is forming an advisory committee, which we all know this is what is going to replace the NCAA in college football. It's moving at warp speed, and then they, may fight the Klingons for interstellar domination after that. But the thing I like the most about it is that I believe the power those 2 conferences will have, and them working together. It's basically like America and the Soviet Union working together after World War II. But I think it can bring some rules and button up some of the craziness that we see in the NIL and the transfer portal because, again, they do have power. What say you?
Yeah, look, it's only February, too. Do I need to remind y'all? It's only February of 2024, and we're having this happen, and Ben Shapiro's the #1 rapper in the world. It's just, times are crazy right now. But the SEC and the Big Ten coming together to form this partnership, this national consortium of sorts, can go one of 2 directions as far as I'm concerned. The first one is this will be like Gondor and Rohan come together to save Middle-earth and create this unbelievable partnership and defeat Sauron.
One ring to rule them all, and in
darkness shall bind them. Or this will be more like the alliance formed between Jim and Dwight in The Office, where really it's just an alliance in name only. One party's not really that invested. The other one's all in. If it's the latter, it'll end up being about as meaningful as the alliance the Big Ten formed during COVID.
I just don't see that happening, right?
Now that the SEC's involved, I agree with you. I don't see that happening. But if it's the former, right? If the former analogy comes to pass, then this is the beginning of college football splintering off from all of the other sports and from the NCAA. Now, look, we've talked ad nauseum about the NCAA really providing no leadership on some of these biggest matters, and they've had enough time, right? The sample size is large enough. One thing I do want to point out, though, is the NFL has 32 teams to manage, right? Roger Goodell needs to manage 32 teams in one sport. Major League Baseball commissioner has 30 teams to manage in one sport. The NCAA oversees 24 different sports at 350 schools. That is a tall task. Right? That is a tall task. So to me, if college football splinters off from other sports, it may be beneficial for all involved, right? Like you may have golf teams and volleyball teams and water polo teams that don't get caught up in having to switch conferences and fly all across the country for their matches when really football is what's driving a lot of these moves. So that's the way I see it. We'll see how this plays out. But the Big Ten and the SEC are going to lead this charge. What it means for all of the other schools in the conferences, we don't know yet, but they're not going to get left out in the cold.
Yeah, and Blaine, I talked to a source of mine that I trust that's about as close to the situation as possible. And basically what he said was the ACC and the Big 12 aren't going anywhere, right? Even with the craziness we see with Florida State. But you are going to have to play second fiddle to the Big Ten and the SEC. I'll go back to what I said. To the victors, go the spoils. You want to make the rules? Then dominate. And that's what we've seen the SEC and the Big Ten be able to do. Not that the ACC doesn't play good ball. Not that you shouldn't be excited about the Big 12 and who they have added. But this is going to be led by the power brokers of college football. And I understand they're not going to be squeaky clean, right? I can sit here and rip the NCAA on one hand and realize that there may be some things that go on behind closed doors that aren't exactly pure, but it is not going to be as downgraded as what the NCAA has done. And I want to quote Rick Pitino. For those of you who think that maybe this will bleed into college basketball, Rick Pitino, this is a quote, says it's a very difficult time in college basketball because it's free agency. So I think the NCAA enforcement staff should just be disbanded. It's a joke. Not because I dislike them, but they're of no value anymore. Because Tennessee, they'll take them to court. Virginia, they'll take them to court, and they'll win. So I'm very interested to see if this bleeds over to the second biggest moneymaker in college athletics, which is basketball. I don't see that happening yet, but you're starting to hear more of these college basketball coaches kind of talk about it. What do you think about the whole deal?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it bled in all sports. But when it comes to football, can we just do whatever we need to do to get Greg Sankey in charge?
Yeah.
That's what I want. The NCAA, two things. Let's get as far away as the NCAA we can as possible, and let's get closer to Greg Sankey. Let's build around Greg Sankey. He is the dark leader. Nick's gone now, all right? Look at him. Met him. First of all, the guy's a genius, great guy. He knows what he's doing. He can adapt. He can be in full control. We can be comfortable.
Yeah.
I do think at this point, look, everyone's scared of a power couple, all right? Everyone is. And Big Ten, the SEC, that's what they are. Not everybody can be the sergeant. Not everybody can be the captain. Some guys need a medic, all right? We need the machine gun guy.
Yeah, I need a spotter.
Right? We need a spotter. We need a sniper, all right? You have to fall in line when you need to. And if you're the ACC and you're the Big 12, you know this.
Yeah.
You know you're not the ones. Hell, Florida State just went undefeated and you didn't even get in the playoff. Fall in line. It's okay, son. You'll get there one day.
Yeah. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, whether you're watching on Rumble, YouTube, listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, watching thedailywire.com. Please keep sharing the show. We really appreciate you guys. The way we're growing is absolutely bananas. And remember, without you, there is no us. Also, the phone lines will be open at 7:15 a.m. Central. We want to hear from you and all the things we're going to cover. Going to get to the Booster Club in a second. But, fellas, speaking about growing, speaking about coming together to form something great, if you want to start a business, like, we know how tough it can be, especially when it comes to running your online storefront. But that is where Shopify comes in clutch. They're the Michael Jordan, right, of commerce platforms. It's all around the globe. It helps you sell at every stage of your business, from the launch your online shop stage all the way to, holy crap, we just hit 1 million orders. Shopify is there to help you grow. They turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, up to 36% better compared to other leading e-commerce platforms. They are the SEC and Big Ten of the commerce platform game, and no matter how big you want to grow, they give you everything you need to take control. And when you hear this, congrats, y'all, we rich. Maybe now we can get that luxury suite with those 20 tickets and those Lay's potato chips at the Super Bowl. So sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Crane. This is all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/CRAIN right now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. That's shopify.com/Crane. Also, speaking of that, we're going to put our merch link into the chats. Go buy some. It helps out. Y'all know how this works. Helps out the show. Helps out everybody. We got some great stuff in there. Hoodies, candles, everything your little imagination will desire. But Booster Club, excuse me, what's up?
Dude, all right, hit that like and subscribe button quickly. Did you watch Lord of the Rings over the weekend?
I did.
Okay, yeah, I can tell. All right, that makes sense. Let's go to American.
Perfect time for a Lord of the Rings, with the Gondor and the Rohan.
I love it.
Starting to catch up.
I love it. Let's go to American Flag Shades. Remember, if you donate, it's on topic. I will read it. If not, I will catch you at the end of the show. It says, as a Notre Dame fan, this may actually force them into a conference, which I'd be pretty happy about.
You know, I've said this for the last year and a half, going on almost 2 years. And it's so good to hear you say that as a Notre Dame fan, because 80% of the Notre Dame fan base is like, no, this isn't going to force us to join a conference. Well, you better do something, because I'm going to tell you the craziest part about this whole thing and what's going to hurt them the most. You're adding Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. Mm-hmm. We see what's adding to the Big Ten. We're going to go to 9-game in-conference schedule in the SEC at some point. We already know what's going on in the Big Ten. You look at who the Big 12 added, who the ACC is trying to add. With all these teams going to conference, I'm not scheduling Notre Dame to play you out of conference. Why the hell would I do that, especially after seeing Florida State go 13-0 and get left out, playing 2 SEC teams out of conference? I'm not scheduling Notre Dame. It's not even close. So I don't think anybody's going to play them. And that's going to be a bigger problem than anything when you look at it going down the stretch. I know it's a 12-team playoff, and they could sneak in there. But if they want to get to the highest level of efficiency, you're going to have to join a conference, right? You're just going to have to do it. That doesn't mean that you're going to lose money but this whole mode of, well, we can just be different because we're Notre Dame. Look, I'm going to tell you, you're going to blink twice. It ain't got the cachet that it used to. All right, let's just be honest. You're going to have to jump in a conference eventually with the way that it's expanding or reducing, depending on how you look at it.
See, I'm starting to be on the opposite side of this. I've wanted Notre Dame to join the Big Ten for as long as I've been affiliated with the conference, for over 15 years now, mostly for selfish reasons, because I want to see them play Michigan every year. I want to see them play that schedule, the Big Ten schedule every year. What they did during COVID, where they kind of joined the ACC and they joined in every other sport, that was already weird. But Notre Dame waiting this out and saying we're not going to join a conference and waiting to see, well, what is the behemoth that gets formed? Is there going to be, like, is college football really going to split off from the NCAA? Is there going to be just 35 top spending money teams that are all vying for one championship? Them waiting for that may actually prove to be the right move, especially when you look at what's happening with Florida State. I mean, Florida State draws far more eyeballs to their football team than a school like Indiana or Northwestern or Vanderbilt, which is in the two conferences that we're talking about right now that's going to be involved in creating the seismic shifts and that get the most money in. I understand why Florida State's mad right now. Clemson's in that same boat, and really even Miami to a certain extent. You know, these blue blood
North Carolina too.
North Carolina as well. So they're looking and saying, I wish we were independent right now, like Notre Dame, because then we could draw up our own television contract, not have to deal with the rest of the conference weighing us down, and maybe we would be in a better position for whatever changes about the conference.
Yeah, and I'm talking about in the future of them having, once you get the details ironed out, like you said, of what's going on, they're going to have to jump in eventually, right?
But maybe
it's driving the price up.
Maybe it won't be driving the price up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, let's go to Eddie, #AskCNC. Will there be a separate committee for basketball/baseball, other sports? Big 12 really seems to be angling to not hang on to football at number 3, but basketball is number 1.
Yeah, well, the Big 12 knows they can be the big dog in basketball, especially with who they added. The value add of Houston. I mean, you look at what Cincinnati's doing right now. You know, I can go down the list. The Big 12, to me, when you look at it, I think it's the best conference in basketball right now. I think they are. That's their only chance to be the big dog in one of the biggest spaces. We know that college football makes money. College basketball makes a little bit of money. College baseball about breaks even. Outside of that, you're not making money. Hell, even LSU's basketball team that sells out, that it's huge down there. They lost, $8 million? You know, on the women's basketball, they had an $8 million hit, and they're fanatics about it down there. It is what it is. So, no, look, when it comes to college basketball, that's probably the most intriguing part to me. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know the exact answer, but I do think there will be a separation of college football and college basketball when we're talking about the NCAA. But it's going to be interesting to watch.
Let's go to Stephen Burlow. Stephen, what is up, my guys? It's which Florida school is joining the SEC first? FSU, UCF, or Miami?
I mean, I think it would be Florida State, right? Because, again, we know they're looking. You know, you're going to the bar trying to find that new someone after, you know, you had a bad breakup with your ex. UCF just went into the Big 12. I don't see them leaving anytime soon. I think that's a really good fit for UCF as well. I think Miami would probably follow Florida State. Florida State kind of seems like to use another Lord of the Rings reference, the Frodo Baggins of this deal.
It's all coming out today, huh?
Yeah, it's all coming out today. And I think Miami will follow suit. You know, you look at Clemson, you look at North Carolina, you look at Virginia Tech, right? You look at Virginia. It's going to be interesting with the ACC.
All right, let's go to DW Curtis. What is up, my guys? His NIL and transfer portal has changed the college football landscape greatly. Do you think this does away with the NCAA?
Yes, but again, what I was saying off the rip was I think when you get the Big Ten and the SEC to run it, the power that they have, they can not only make rules that button up NIL and the transfer portal and the calendar. If we're going to be honest, we heard Chip Kelly and them talking about it. But when they say it, you got to do it.
Yeah.
This isn't the NCAA. You know, this isn't some, short bully that everybody can beat up like the NCAA. This is the kid that we all remember we were 12 years old that looked like a grown-ass man.
And that's an important point here. No one thinks that there shouldn't be rules, and no one thinks that there shouldn't be punishment for people who break the rules. I understand whatever new entity takes over, people are going to hate that thing too, right? Like Roger Goodell gets booed everywhere he goes. Like whichever guy makes and enforces the rules or whichever committee makes and enforces the rules is always going to get a certain level of flack, especially if it's your school or your team or program that they're coming after. But the problem that we have right now, just like I said, we have an organization that's responsible for 24 sports and 350 schools. they don't know what's best for every single one on an individual level. Let the people who know the most about college football make the rules and then enforce the rules of college football. I agree.
All right, one more.
Let's go to Connor Montgomery. He says, what about a salary cap for college football? This would keep teams from stacking. Everybody on the team gets a little piece of the pie, and that can clear the gray area between collective and school.
Well, I don't think it's an awful idea, but I'm starting to kind of get more in the camp of revenue sharing. I think would be the way that this is going to end. You feel like players are going to be employees. I feel like that's the natural progression of where we're heading. Do I love it? Do I think it's the perfect thing? No, but I mean, we talked to Jim Cavell, right? Who talked about that's where it looks like it's going. I think that would be more likely than a salary cap. You look at that would be the most even way to do it, right? Where everybody's under the same salary cap and you can, only spend a certain amount, but I just don't see that happening.
Put a salary cap for the divisions underneath. Like, have different divisions that spend a certain amount of money. Like, we do this when it comes to boxing. There are different weight classes. When you get to the top one and it's heavyweight, you can weigh any amount after the number. So over 220 pounds, right? Yeah. You can weigh 500 pounds and fight the guy, but you can't fight in middleweight. That's what it needs to be. The top 35 teams, you can spend whatever, right? But then if you're the tier under that, there's a cap for the amount of spending that it comes to. And as far as the revenue sharing goes, I want people to understand the revenue has been shared with college athletes before. It's just not, you don't get dollar bills. You get your food paid for, you get your room, your board. The question for me is, once revenue sharing starts, do you have to then pay for all of your own bills? Because that's what's going to be interesting. There may be a real world, situation.
Which, you know what? Good. Because it teaches young people how the real world.
So y'all wanted to get paid instead. Now you have to pay for all of your own room and your board and your food. There's no more training table. That's what it may come down to.
You're basically a walk-on that's employed by the school. All right, let's get to best and worst of the weekend. Remember, the phone line's open, 7:15 a.m. Central. We want to hear you guys. But, David, what was your best of the weekend?
All right, I'll start with the best. How about Kansas and North Carolina basketball?
Yeah.
2 huge wins. Kansas hosting Houston over the weekend. I mean, really led wire to wire and put up a bunch of points against one of the better defenses in the country in Houston. And North Carolina Duke, one of the best games you'll ever see. Like, anytime Duke is playing North Carolina in basketball, I always turn it on. North Carolina with a dominant performance. Finally really got a lot from Armando Bacot down low. The 3 games before that hasn't really been a force to be reckoned with on the offensive end, but Bacot played great. North Carolina really led wire to wire as well. Now, both those were home games, so we'll see, as they continue to go out on the road, but some of the blue bloods in college basketball really showed up.
Now, you remember we were down at the Final Four and Armando Bacot broke the floor?
Yeah.
I do remember that.
We saw that live, and it's one of those things when you see it, you can't, it immediately doesn't register, so I've never seen that before.
I've seen somebody break the rim.
College, you saw someone actually break a rim.
Yeah, Brandon, I was at an Auburn game. It was Auburn, Arkansas. Somebody in the chat's going to know it's Brandon. He was left-handed, literally shattered the goal.
That has to be the joke.
Shattered the goal. Oh, for sure. There was a kid who did it in high school. I saw a clip on social media the other day, but Kansas is starting to get hot. That Furphy kid, that big monster Australian they got, is starting to fill it up. Hunter Dickinson, best Dickinson since Emily, a monster around the rim. But I tell you, they're starting to get in that groove. North Carolina's been playing good all year, though. My best, I'm going to go a little Senior Bowl flavor here. Jim Nagy, Molly Middleton, and everybody associated with the Senior Bowl. First sellout since 2010. We were at the game. It was nuts. There was a ton of people there. It was unbelievably organized. It gets better every single year. The access to the players is amazing. I mean, you're just hanging out with them the whole time. From Monday on, you really get kind of a different perspective of who these guys are. And then when you look at keeping it in Mobile and then now letting juniors play in the game, this roster was the deepest probably that I've ever seen at the Senior Bowl. Typically you have some older guys that are seniors that are trying to make the NFL. This was flush with great players, which made the one-on-ones incredible, which made the team drills incredible. It was just an unbelievable experience. They really take care of us down there. So I just want to give a shout out to Jim Nagy, Executive Director of the Senior Bowl, a guy we have on the show all the time, just doing an incredible job. Everybody down there. Molly Middleton.
First time the Senior Bowl has ever sold out.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was 2010, the Tebow game. When Tim Tebow was there, I think it sold out.
Okay. Well, my best, I think y'all saw it over the weekend. I'm pretty sure we had the clip. If you want to pull it up. Cleveland State.
Yes.
Versus Oakland.
Yes.
These guys are shaving their heads behind the goal, and I love every second of it. Do we have this clip, and can we play it? Yes. I love every second of it.
You know the best part of this, Blaine? These teams are 14-9. Look, there's nobody that's surprisingly ranked. This is for the love of the game.
Hey, at Oakland, it just means more.
Look, this is respect. Nothing but respect. You're shaving, your head while somebody's shooting free throws.
I want to know.
Here's the real question: did he make it?
That's what I want to know.
Did he make it? That's the real question. We're going to do some.
And quickly, another best. I don't know if you saw this, but Johnny Broom. Janai Broom playing in the game. Some guy touched him behind when he went to the bench, and he smacked it off of him. And then he turned around and saw that it was Morgan Freeman.
Freeman. I didn't know Morgan Freeman was such a big Ole Miss fan.
He's from Mississippi.
I knew that, but I didn't know he was just like a diehard Ole Miss fan.
I love me some Morgan Freeman. Awesome. I wish they just have Morgan Freeman like commentate the games. Narrate the games. That'd be absolutely fantastic. All right, worst. Let's go over there with actually, you know what? I'll start worst off. Pat Mahomes Sr. was arrested under suspicion of DWI. His second offense, I believe, was in January, or was in 2018, where he spent 40 days in jail. And I'm seeing a lot of people, make a joke about it that, I'd drink too if I had to go watch a game with Taylor Swift. And I get it, poking fun, but this is a serious thing. I don't care if you're rich or you're poor. Getting behind the wheel while you're drunk is one of the most selfish acts that you could possibly commit, in my opinion. And I know, look, a lot of people, nobody's perfect, right? I understand that. But the part that blows my mind is that if you're rich, and Pat Mahomes Sr. is filthy rich, your son has generational money, right? You had a pretty good career yourself. What? Can we not call an Uber? I don't have even close to the amount of money that this family has. And I would call an Uber. This is the dumbest. It's just dumb. I don't know another way to put it. It makes you look like a stupid person. You could probably get some random person on the street to give you a ride home. Not that that's the safest thing, but it's safer than going and drinking and driving. And it's your third offense, which if you're convicted could be up to 10 years in jail. Now, he's not going to spend 10 years in jail. They're not going to do that to Pat Mahomes' father. But at the end of the day, how stupid are you? Let's just be honest. How stupid and selfish are you? It's like the Deshaun Watson thing. Where are your friends, man?
Yeah.
Like, you got awful friends. Like, hey, I'll come pick you up. Call an Uber. It's just, David, I don't get it.
Sometimes I feel bad for Patrick Mahomes Jr. because he's one of the greatest quarterbacks we've seen play the game. Generational talent, is going through this dynastical run with the Chiefs, and it just seems like constant negative headlines, whether it be with his brother or his father or his wife, and it's just like
he's surrounded
Patrick
by
Mahomes,
idiots.
He just goes about his business, and I hate that.
He's such a professional.
I know.
And I feel bad for the guy, too.
And he doesn't, you don't ever hear anything about Patrick Mahomes off the field.
I know.
You never hear anything.
Just goes about his business. All right, before I get to my worst, which is just going to blow y'all's mind, a couple more best here real quick. Wyndham Clark winning the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. It did get called after 54 holes, so that part was unfortunate. But this guy shot a course record 60 on Saturday. Was a putt away from a 59 that would have been a first time ever on the course. But course record 60 and drained 150 feet of putts on the front nine.
Hot.
Just ridiculous.
Absolutely cooking.
Ridiculous.
I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Another best or worst, depending on if you're a Ferrari or Mercedes F1 fan, Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes after 11 years to join Ferrari, won 6 championships with Mercedes. He'll make over $100 million a year with Ferrari. Ferrari had more social media followers in a day from this than they typically get in a month.
Yeah. Wow. I've seen it's the F1 fans, they seem split on this. Right, I see some that are like, this would be like, basically betraying the team that you've been with the whole time to go to like the arch rival. I'm not as well versed in this arena as you are, David. So, like, what do you think?
It's like Tom Brady leaving the Patriots after 6 championships and you joined the Bucs. Even though Lewis Hamilton did get 1 championship, I believe, with McLaren before he ever joined Mercedes, but still one of the greatest drivers of all time. Once you've had that level of success with one team, then you switch this late. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes moving forward. Is it mostly just for PR? Is Lewis still going to drive at a high level? That's the biggest question I have. But my worst of the weekend, guys, this one's going to blow your mind here. This story with the Jacksonville Jaguars asking FanDuel to return over $20 million that was stolen from them. So this guy, Amit Patel, a mid-level finance manager, siphoned funds for over 3.5 years. Mid-level finance manager, he pled guilty to stealing $22 million from a virtual credit card system the Jags use for expenses. Sources with knowledge of the case told ESPN that Patel lost about $20 million of the funds on daily fantasy and sports bets at FanDuel.
Well, hold on. He embezzled it to bet and then lost it.
Yes.
What an idiot.
The Jags have asked FanDuel to reimburse them for some or all of the approximately $20 million of the stolen proceeds that a former employee lost on the site, but the company is unwilling to pay as of right now.
I wouldn't pay.
Hashtag not my problem.
Yeah. Y'all need to figure out, maybe y'all should get smarter at computers.
Yeah. But if he won, would they get some of the money? Like, would the Jaguars be mad?
He didn't.
I mean, he's obviously not tailing Crane.
I was going to say, you're not watching Crane Cup if you lost $22 million.
$22 million. I get upset. I can't look at myself in the mirror if I lose like $200.
I know.
Yeah.
Like I'm sick to my stomach.
Losing $20 million?
What I can't imagine is doing this over the course of 3.5 years and no one's checking the expense account. How are you not noticing that all this money's gone?
Jax, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Trevor's not looking the same. People are stealing money from us.
Not just money. $20 million?
And
Good God.
FanDuel's like, nah, you're not getting it back.
I'll tell you what I'm not giving back. That Good Ranchers box that just came through. Because we all know, oh God, it's a Valentine's Day reminder. I needed this. February is the month of love, and everybody loves bacon, right? If you don't love bacon, I mean, let's be honest. Should you be federally investigated or not? That's a question that's out there. Which means you're going to love getting free bacon from Good Ranchers. Because when you subscribe to any of their 100% American meat boxes, they'll add 1.5 pounds of Applewood smoked bacon, oh my goodness, to your order for free. God, I tell you what, that may be one of the best deals I've ever heard in my life. Free bacon. Good Ranchers, look, they get all their meat from local farms and ranches in the United States. You're not getting any meat that has to cross an ocean. All right, this is from the crib. All right, so you know it's good, whether it's mouth-watering smell through the kitchen on a Sunday evening or the joy of sharing a plate of bacon-wrapped appetizers with friends. Good Ranchers has a way of creating moments that linger in people's hearts and taste buds. David, you love you some Good Ranchers.
I do love Good Ranchers. Had it this week. My box got here as well. Just completed the Good Ranchers Carnivore Diet Challenge. Lost 11 pounds.
Yeah, looking good. Blaine, I mean, you're a single guy. I mean, you that Good Ranchers box would feed you for a month and a half.
Look, I'm basically Bobby Flay with his Good Ranchers in the kitchen at this point. I mean, whatever it is, bone in. I mean, all of it's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. So, fall in love with the beef, chicken, seafood, and especially the bacon all over again by subscribing at goodranchers.com. Use our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, to claim $240 in free bacon, and maybe banking. This offer is not available on their site and is exclusive to our listeners. All right? So you're either nobody else knows about this. You want to talk about the Trust Tree? You want to talk about the Booster Club? You want to talk about us looking out for y'all? That's goodranchers.com. Use our code BOOSTER for the best bacon in the United States. Goodranchers.com. American meat delivered. All right, let's get to the Booster Club.
I'm definitely going to do my worst first.
Oh, you didn't do your worst?
I did not, so great. I'll do quickly. Carl Weathers.
Oh, yeah, God.
Passed away over the weekend, and just one of the best, dude. Absolute GOAT. Chubbs, Apollo Creed, just a number of things that he did. Another one, the Pro Bowl sucks.
Did anybody watch the Pro Bowl?
The Pro Bowl sucks, and I'm sick of it. It's just the worst. It's the worst. We're out here playing flag football.
You know what? Just get rid of it.
We're playing flag.
Just say you made
I remember
the Pro
the days of watching Sean Taylor come down here and kill people.
Punters.
And punters. Like when it actually matters, when the best actually want to compete against the best.
Well, look,
now we're out here pulling flags.
Can I be honest with you, though? I could care less about the Pro Bowl even if they played like the game. I've never been one of these people. It's like, oh, the Pro Bowl. I can't wait to watch the Pro Bowl. I could care less about the Pro Bowl.
How about the NHL All-Star Game? Austin Matthews MVP?
Did you see Connor McDavid when they did the speed skating thing?
No.
Oh, my God.
He scored the tying goal, didn't he?
Dude, David, this man, I honestly, Olympic-wise, I wonder, because I remember watching Apollo Ono do the speed skating in the Olympics. I wonder if McDavid could win that thing. Who's faster than this cat on skates? He's Usain Bolt on skates. No wasted movement. It was incredible to watch. Absolutely incredible to watch.
All right, let's go to Binks Majinks with the $5 donation. Appreciate it, brother. He says, the SEC and the Big Ten are Rohan and Gondor. What schools are Aragon, Legolas, Gimli, and Gandalf? Let's go,
You're going to have to give me some time to think about that.
No, let's go, fellas.
You're going to have to give me some time to think about that.
Who is
I'll get back to you on that one, Binks.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. We'll see. Let's go to OG22. He says, what's good, folks? Tanner, I'll use my government. Alabama is in the building. War Eagle, is the NCAA finally gone?
From college football, yes. And I think David made a great point. Nobody is saying that it should be the Wild West, which it really is right now. There has to be a governing body. But the governing body has to have power. I'm going to be honest with you. Can I use the word coup? Does this feel like a government being overthrown a little bit? Like in that vein, right? But by somebody else who has established more power? And it's going to be a good thing. Because again, to enforce the rules, you have to have power. And the NCAA, they just don't have it anymore in college football. That's why, and the college basketball part is interesting. That's why I read that Rick Pitino quote. Now, we all know Rick Pitino's past. I know he's not in love with the NCAA after what happened with him at Louisville, but I'm very interested to see how many big-time college basketball coaches come out and start talking about this too. That's a part of this, because we got asked earlier, what does this mean for college basketball? It's really interesting.
Let's go to Sports Guy. He says, drinking and driving in 2024 absolutely blows my mind.
Nobody should do it, but especially if you're rich. I mean,
let's say he played professional baseball.
Yeah, but look, Pat Mahomes is your son.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure you got a couple shekels that he's thrown you. It's selfish and it's stupid. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. If I was that rich, I probably would never drive again. Why am I driving? What do you mean? Like, I just got somebody that walks around. It's called a driver. It's called a chauffeur. Or, you know, if you're Pat Mahomes Jr. though, do you not? I mean, is this something where you go and you're like, listen, Dad, this is number 3. You're not driving anymore. You're not driving anymore. I will buy you a chauffeur that will drive you around everywhere, because this is ridiculous. You're going to kill somebody. And guess what? That leads to what? A lawsuit. You know, obviously it leads to a tragic death if it happens. But if I'm Pat Mahomes Jr., you're not driving anymore. You want to drive now? You're cut off. You're cut off. See how much, again, you know, it's just, at some point, you got to put your foot down. But it's egregious to me.
Well, let's go to Chris. He says, well, let's not forget this dude was getting praised for drinking with Ravens fans 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but look, nobody's saying don't drink. That's not what we're saying. Don't drink and drive. Yeah. Like that, it's fun to look up there and see. I mean, look at, I guarantee you, Jason Kelce didn't drive after the Bills game when he had his shirt off like Bert Kreischer in the suite. You want to know why? Because he's not an idiot. That's why.
All right, let's go to Dan. He said, who did it better? The Jags guy betting team money and losing it illegally, or Kayshon Boutte betting his NIL money direct from a huge attorney and losing it?
Oh, well, no. Look. The Kayshon Boutte thing is one of the top 3 dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. At least this took a little bit. He may not be the greatest bettor of all time, but do you know how hard it is to siphon $20 million from anything and get away with it? Like, that at least, you at least got to be able to put one foot in front of the other to do that. Kayshon Boutte bet on his own team from their own building using his name as his username. I'm trying to think of him and Pat Mahomes Sr. may be the 2 dumbest people I've ever heard about. And I've heard about some dumb people. I'm talking about simple people.
All right, let's go to SGB Trust Tree. What is up, my guys? Says, I think that the Power 5 conferences should do away with their conference championship game. Whoever's at the top of the end of the conference champ, instead add another Power 5 game to the schedule.
Look, I can understand what you're thinking on that, but I think the conference championship game is really important. I mean, look, here's a term you're going to start hearing a lot in college football, and we've heard a little bit of it before. It's seeding, right? There's a big difference if you're going into the 12-team playoff, going into the conference championship game, and you're a projected 9 seed playing a projected 2 seed, and you beat that projected 2 seed, that will move you up, right? We see this all the time in college basketball. And when we get to conference tournament time, right? You have teams that are fighting to get in the tournament, but you're also having teams that are fighting for a higher seed. A higher seed means you play a lesser opponent, or a better seed means you play a lesser opponent. Plus, that's you may get another Power 5 game, but that's not going to be as good as the games that you're going to get. We may see Ohio State play Michigan again. We may get to see Auburn play Alabama again. So I can kind of understand what you're saying, but I don't want that.
All right, let's go to Paul Lynch. What's up, my guy? Says Jaguars should be forced to watch the great film Office Space.
Yeah, that's actually a really good. That's a really good comp there.
Let's go to Jeremy Allison. He says if FanDuel was smart, they would give the Jaguars a bonus bet.
Give a bonus bet?
Give a bonus bet.
That's funny.
A no sweat.
Yeah,
you get a no sweat bet.
Get a token. You get a token. All right, we're going to get back to the Boost Club in a little bit. Guys, the phone line's open here in 5 minutes. Want to make sure we get to those. If you call and it's on hold, every time we take a call, it opens up a line. You don't have to be, Inspector Perot to figure that one out. But little Senior Bowl recap.
Yeah, I want to hear all about it. I heard Spencer Rattler won the MVP.
I was so happy for Spencer. I've talked about Spencer a lot, the maturation level. And again, this is a guy that we got to talk to on the field, of seeing him go from Oklahoma to South Carolina. Not that he was a bad person before, but you saw somebody grow, take on a leadership role, be able to not only embrace adversity, but overcome it. You never heard him complain. South Carolina's offensive line, to be honest with you, was hot dog water last year. You couldn't block for the run. You couldn't pass protect. Spencer was out there running for his life in a year where he knows he's going to get a chance to play in the NFL, where he could have shut it down and said, you know what? I don't want to get hurt. It isn't worth it. Let's get the young guy, Lenore Sellers, in here. Let him play a little bit. That's not what he did. He took control of that team, right? He owned everything. He went out there and gave 110% every game, and he was a leader. And talking to him on the field, you can really see a guy that has gone through a maturation process, and I was so happy to see him have a successful week. I thought he was the best-looking quarterback there.
Really?
I thought he was the best-looking quarterback there. He won MVP at the game, and I'm really excited to see Spencer go to the next level. It's a guy we'd love to have on the show. I got to have a great conversation with him, which we're going to release on our YouTube channel here shortly, but was very happy to see him play well. I tell you what, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Being able to add the juniors to this game changes everything to me. Like the level of competition, there was not a bad rep in one-on-ones, whether it was offensive line, defensive line, whether it was wide receivers and DBs. And when I looked at the way it was structured, the game was good, but what I really liked was, the access you get to the players. But some guys that really stood out. Ricky Pearsall, to me, out of Florida, is going to make a quarterback in the NFL very happy as a rookie. Him and Roman Wilson, I think they're built different, right? But they're kind of in the same nuance. They're both really smooth. The way they set up DBs, they may not be the most athletic person on the rep, but they mentally beat everyone they go against. The Fisk guy out of Florida State had a huge week. I believe he was the one that had to transfer teams the day of the game, which has never happened before in the Senior Bowl. But, Blaine, I was just very impressed with the level of competition out there.
Look, first of all, the week was phenomenal. Jim Nagy does a great job. A couple guys that I looked out and saw. One, James Williams from Miami.
Yeah, God.
The safety from Miami. He was every bit of 6'5", 220 pounds.
Really?
Was the scariest thing I saw the entire week. And can run. That's one guy on defense. We flipped to the other side. Spencer Rattler's absolutely phenomenal. Ladd McConkey just cooked everybody the entire week. Cody Schrader.
Yeah.
I mean, he is going to be a 3-down back in the NFL.
He's more Austin Eckler than Blake
everything he did was it was smooth, it was correct. His fundamentals, his feet, picking up blocking, catching routes out of the backfield. I think Cody Schrader is going to be kind of reminds me of the old boy from Michigan.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I think he's actually got a little bit more quick twitch than Blake Corum, even though Blake Corum's built more like Austin Eckler. I think Cody Schrader is a little bit more diverse when it comes to his skill set. One of the coolest parts about going to the Senior Bowl and being on the field is you get to actually see the size of these guys. Cody Schrader is little, but hell, you can hide behind offensive linemen. If you're going to be little, right, but stocky, running back's a hell of a position to do it because you can hide behind those offensive linemen. But you talk about James Williams. This is one of the most physically gifted individuals that's that big that I've seen. He can change direction. He can flip his hips. He's going to be a down safety in the league, but he is longer than a Harry Potter book, but he's not thin. He's not rail thin. He's put together really well. Peyton Wilson from NC State, the linebacker, and then Knight, the linebacker from UTEP. I'm going to tell y'all right now that this kid out of UTEP, I say kid, he's a grown man. I thought, in my opinion, he was the best-looking linebacker all week. Like, he's that talented. I remember watching him play a little bit last year, but the way he can come downhill, I was interested to see him in pass coverage, and I thought he was really good. He's not the quickest, but he knows how to leverage guys, right? My father was an All-American middle linebacker at Auburn and played in the NFL, and he had one of the greatest quotes of all time when it comes to 40 times, playing Mike. You know, it's good to be fast, but if you have to run 40 yards to catch somebody at middle linebacker, I don't want your ass.
You already didn't do your job.
Yeah, that's the truth. So, but it was just a fantastic weekend. I hate to say this, David, we went to Bluegill twice.
Oh, twice?
I'll tell you
Good.
I've been to the beaches of Normandy, all right, in France, and had oysters. I don't know if there's a better oyster out there than a Rockefeller oyster from Bluegill. I don't know if it exists.
I just got hungry.
Zach, who was with us, I need to get Matt Walsh back. I know Matt's not. Zach had oysters for the first time, and that was the first one he had. Hooked. Yeah. Hooked. It's like giving a kid a piece of candy for the first time, right? Like, I know Matt Walsh, not big on oysters. He had a Rockefeller oyster from Bluegill. I think it might change his mind.
On the Spencer Rattler front, man, I'm just so proud of this kid's growth. And you can hear it when he speaks, too, not just on the field. He really owns his pass, so it was great to see him win MVP. This is what the Senior Bowl is for a guy like that who has grown over the years, who maybe didn't play behind an excellent offensive line, had some trials and tribulations on the field with what he had to go through at South Carolina and Oklahoma. The Senior Bowl is a perfect opportunity to step up and have a dominant week of practice in a game. So for him to win MVP was awesome.
Yeah, and I want to say this, too. A lot of people are down on the week that Bo Nix had.
That's what I was going to ask him.
And Michael Penix Jr. I think Spencer Rattler, the most impressive thing about what Spencer Rattler did is that he didn't have chemistry outside, with Xavier Legette, who's a good-looking cat, too, if we're going to talk about wide receivers that can play. You don't have chemistry with these guys. So being able to play well at the Senior Bowl, it's kind of an extra notch in the belt. But I'm not knocking Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. because if you see it with your eyes, you can tell that these guys haven't worked together a lot. Anticipatory throwing, right? The routes are very simple. Okay, we're not saying it's overcomplicated, but it's that the reason you throw in the spring and in the summer, right, and indoors in the winters to build that chemistry, to know how guys run routes, to know how guys get in and out of breaks. So I was more watching fundamentally how the ball came out of their hand. Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix are going to be fine. If you're panicking over them, don't do it. Once they have time to go in and build chemistry with these guys wherever they end up, they're going to be fine. So I thought there was a little bit of overreaction.
I don't think
Joe Milton is who we thought he was, though.
Yeah, no one's surprised by this, especially
You listen to us,
show.
we've been telling you
especially on this show, but I don't think any quarterback, I think the only quarterback who really helped his stock was Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think any quarterback out there really hurt their stock. Though I don't think Michael Penix is going to fall. I don't think Bo Nix is going to fall. I think Spencer might move up. I don't think there's a phenomenal performance by any quarterback this weekend other than Spencer Rattler.
Did Michael Penix Jr. not play in the game?
Well, he didn't, but it's, again, let's be honest. And I want, the game is the least important thing that happens all week. All right, it's the least important. Most of the scouts are gone by the time the game is played. They want to see the practice. They want to be able to get close. They want to be able to see the one-on-ones, and it's more structured and things like that. So the week is the thing that's the most important. The game, I thought Spencer Rattler did, he won MVP of the game, but the most important thing he did was all week. That's what I think. So, again, it's the game. I love it. Going to it, it was sold out. It was a phenomenal atmosphere. You should go to the game. But we all know the practices are the most important part.
All right, let's go to Jor. What is up, my guy? Speaking of Joe Milton, he says, how bad was a Joe Milton short throw where he dirts it 2 yards in front of the receiver after pointing at him? Do you think Joe Milton will even get drafted?
I don't think he will. And I want to say this. Joe Milton is all class.
Mm-hmm.
He is a class individual. But just because you're a class individual doesn't make you a great player. And I hope he does figure it out. And we've talked about this ad nauseum. I know Tennessee fans know this. Joe Milton is not a nuanced passer. He doesn't have a lot of feel for anything outside of throwing the ball as hard as possible. He is a closer, right? You come in for the ninth inning, you throw it 102 miles per hour, you face 3 batters, and that's all you do. You're not going 6 innings. All right, he really doesn't have an off-speed pitch. right? And that's very hard to put into somebody. And again, if you've watched our show, that's what we've sat here and said for God knows how long. And you know, it came to fruition. We're not always right, but we really do know what we're looking at. And, you know, I hate it for Joe, but look, this is a business, man, right? And he just, you know, he struggled.
All right, let's go to War Chant. He says, how did Johnny Newton and Keith Randolph look to you guys? I believe both those are defensive linemen from Illinois. Both of them look pretty good. I thought the D-line class looked pretty good.
Well, yeah, again, this is where I think you see the juniors being able to play in the game where it really benefits you the most is up front. And if you watched one-on-ones, I mean, it was, you know, dominant player against dominant player. It was overtly physical, which, you know, again, made it a better experience. So, yeah, I thought those guys had a good week. I thought Fisk had the best week out of Florida State. He obviously won MVP of the defensive line. And then Darius Robinson out of Missouri. You want to talk about a physical freak, David, that can bend? I went and watched him run the hoop. I watched him go through bags. This guy, I mean, he couldn't fit. I mean, he'd hit his head. He's like you, David. He'd hit his damn head on these double doors, but he also probably couldn't fit through it. The one I'm interested to see is Sweat, right? He does not wear that weight well. He does not wear it well. I'm interested to see if he can get his body right. I know he can dominate because he's one of those guys that you look at and you're like, there's no way this guy can move very well. And then you watch him move and you're like, God, if this guy actually got in tip-top shape, he could be an all NFL type of guy. So yeah, the competition was fantastic.
All right, let's go to BC Chaplin. He says, look, Joe Milton will have a great career in the UFL.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if he can play in the UFL. And I hate to say it, but I think there's guys that are better out there that, you know, you don't have to be able to, you know, throw it 300 miles per hour to be effective. It just, again, it's the same thing over and over again, and he hasn't been able to fix it. I know he's working on it, but if you haven't figured it out by now, I mean, at some point, you're just not going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Just the truth. All right, one more, and then we'll get
All right, let's go to Heartbroken Hog. He says, scouts will care more about how Penix and Nix do at the Combine anyway rather than the Senior Bowl.
Well, the practices at the Senior Bowl are really important. You know, I'm kind of on the other side of the fence. Like pro day, like running around without pads on, throwing the ball. That's how you get Zach Wilson, dog.
Yeah.
Like when this is the dumbest thing. You know what it's like? There's a reason that when you go into the Army, they make you do all that running with that pack on. You want to know why? Because when you go out, you got to wear that pack. Why do we have guys throwing without pads on? It makes no sense. Like, cool. That'd be like saying, all right, pitcher, go out and throw without a glove on. It changes the dynamic of it. I'm not saying you even got to wear pants, you know, pads in your pants. I'm talking about just wearing the shoulder pads. It makes no sense. Why do we not run the 40 with pads on? We hear all the time, oh, he's got football speed. Oh, he's got football speed. He's better running with the pads on. Why do we not do that? I've never seen Tyreek Hill running without his shoulder pads on down the field.
So did they do any drills at the Senior Bowl without full pads?
No. Like, I mean, you had some shell stuff that they would do, but you were not ever not wearing pads. Like, because again, how am I supposed to get a read on it? Like, it doesn't make sense. But all right, you ready to get to calls?
Yeah, we got a couple callers on the line here. Let's get to Sasha in Austin, Texas. Sasha, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, guys. How y'all doing today?
What's
Great,
up?
man.
Hey, it's been good. We've been talking a lot of college football, but it's Super Bowl week.
Yep.
But we know college football is better, so I got a trivia question for you guys coming in.
What we got?
All right, so the Super Bowl has been hosted in pure college football stadiums 13 times. These are stadiums where college teams play their regular games, but not a mixed stadium like Hard Rock Stadium.
Okay.
One stadium has hosted 5 times. One stadium hosted 3 times. Another stadium hosted 2 times, and 3 stadiums have hosted the game once. Name the university or stadium for each of those.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Is the Coliseum you think the Coliseum's hosted a Super Bowl?
Yeah, actually, I think they hosted the first Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would say one is the Coliseum,
hosted
USC.
the first Super Bowl, yeah.
LA Coliseum has hosted 2 Super Bowls.
There
Nice.
you go.
Okay. All right, let's see. Why am I thinking the state of Texas, David?
Where do
the state
they
of Texas
play?
has one college team that has hosted a Super Bowl.
That would be.
What about?
Would it be Texas?
What's the stadium?
It is not a Power 5 team.
Okay. In the state of Texas, though.
It's not going to hoop. It's going to be somebody we don't think.
I wonder how old it is, the question.
It's going to be a small school in Texas.
Where does Texas and Oklahoma play the Red River Shootout?
It's in
the State Fairgrounds, right?
Yeah.
That is a non-college stadium.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I would say it's not Power 5?
No. Rice.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. All right, so how many do we have left?
That one.
you have 4 left. You have 2 stadiums that hosted 1 Super Bowl each, and the 1 stadium that has hosted the Super Bowl 5 times, and then the other stadium that has hosted the Super Bowl 3 times.
Okay.
Of the remaining teams, 2 of them are Power 5, or 3 of them are Power 5 teams, and 1 of them is a non-Power 5 team.
God, I'm thinking the state of Florida.
Florida does not have any.
Oh, wow. God, I'm not sure. Think Northeast, right? Would it be
one of these stadiums holds the record for Super Bowl attendance.
Oh my goodness. Nothing up your way up by Michigan, right, D?
And nothing in Florida?
Man, I'm drawing a blank here. What do you think, Blaine? I don't know.
Arizona State?
Arizona State Sun Stadium hosted in 1996.
Wow. God, you are on fire. And your laugh is slowly turning into Joaquin Phoenix's version of the Joker. Listen to Blaine laugh now. He's like,
I don't know what's going on.
Like, I'm just like, if he starts dressing up like a clown and walking around with a sign, I'm going to panic in here. I don't know the last one. Blaine, you got it?
SMU.
All right, so you got 3 left.
SMU?
SMU has not hosted any.
All right, Charles, give it to
Penn State.
Penn State?
All right, so Penn State, no. The Rose Bowl has hosted the Super Bowl 5 times.
5 times, damn.
Stanford hosted the Super Bowl 1 time in
That's
1985.
right.
And then Tulane Stadium has hosted the Super Bowl 3 times.
Tulane, let's go, baby.
I would never have guessed.
So which one set the record for attendance?
Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's Rose Bowl. That's one I should have got. I moved off after the Coliseum. I should have stayed out there. That's crazy that Florida not involved.
I thought Miami.
Yeah.
You're
well,
right.
He said Hard Rock, right? That's a split.
Okay,
so Miami, if you included the shared stadiums, right? Miami's Hard Rock Stadium and the Orange Bowl combined have 11 Super Bowls, but there's shared stadium already.
Well, look,
call, dude.
Sasha, that's a great trivia question. That's almost a little fun fact-ish of the day there. Also, shout out Salt Lake Barbecue, baby.
Yeah, Sasha, thanks for the care package, man.
Definitely.
That was very kind.
Which reminds me, I got a couple shout-outs I want to make sure I get to. One of our Booster Club members, Matthew Raridan. It's a boy.
Yeah,
Found out it's a boy.
Let's go, baby.
All right,
Congrats,
Maddie. Again, we talked about Salt Lake Barbecue. And then our friends over at Barner Supply sent me a sweatshirt. They're sending a hat. If you don't know, Barner is a derogatory term that we embrace for Auburn fans. So
it is embraced.
Yeah, like, look, it just depends on how you use it. Like, you say, if you're using it you're trying to be an ass, basically, then people will take offense to it. But you got to be able to laugh at yourself, right? So it's a fun idea. The hats are cool. The sweatshirt's cool. I'm going to be rocking that bad boy this week. So
All right.
shout out our friends over at Barner Supply.
Cool.
Yep.
Love it. All right. Yeah, appreciate it again, Sasha, for the Salt Lake Barbecue and for calling in. All right, let's go to Wes in North Carolina. Wes, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
What's up, Wes?
Man?
Hey, just want to have a quick shout-out real quick to producer Justine.
Yes.
We kind of ran into each other down at the Senior Bowl, and just seemed like a really cool person.
Yes, and I was going to say at the end of the show, she did a phenomenal job. Her and Zach this week, again, they put us in a position to make a play, and we go out there and try and make the plays. But I hope people understand, I think some people think we have this huge team of, like the same amount of people that, Colin Cowherd and them have. No, we don't. Justine does a ton. And I want to make sure and give her flowers. And, she works her butt off, and it never stops for her, and she has to deal with all three of us. So we may not have the biggest team, but you can bet your bottom dollar, Little Orphan Annie, we got the best one.
Kudos, Justine. Great job this week.
Thanks, guys.
I'm sure she'll never leave that down.
Yeah. There you go. There's your compliment for the year, Justine. You got it. But, Wes, thanks, man. Did you have a good time down there?
Oh, yeah. Great time. First question, is Justine single?
Oh, Justine getting asked out on live
Look,
call.
I love this.
Oh, hey.
Listen, we'll I'll let her.
God,
Justine,
does this turn into a segment?
Does this turn into a segment?
Oh,
I don't
God.
know. I think it does.
Yeah.
It might, Wes. You may have. What's your second question? I'm kind of worried.
The second question is football related.
Yeah.
Okay. No, yes. Justine.
Like, would Justine go to a football game with me?
But no, so just kind of curious what you guys think on with the way the transfer portal and the NIL situation is right now. Kind of, is it possible for another team, kind of like Saban did with Alabama, to build what he built over the last 15 plus years? Is it possible to build that with the way that the NIL and transfer portal is the way it is in today's football?
Wes, that's a fantastic question, and I've thought about this multiple times, and here's the best answer I can give you. I think it's possible, but it's a lot less probable. I think it's a lot harder to do it now. And if there's one guy that I'm looking at, and I think we can all agree here, they've won 2 out of the last 3 national championships, and it's Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's shown his ability to navigate through these waters. But I think it's a very hard stretch to try and get even close to what Nick Saban did when you had more control, right, when Nick Saban was doing what he did. So I don't think so, but it's not impossible. But it's a great question. It's going to be fascinating to see, for sure. But, Wes, man, thank you.
No doubt.
Appreciate it, Wes.
Yep, appreciate you.
All right, let's go to Kirk in Canada. Kirk, what's up?
Hey, gentlemen.
Kirky.
Hey, I know that Friday's hockey day. We talk hockey on Friday, but I have some massive hockey news that I literally couldn't wait till Friday.
Let's hear it.
Drop it on us.
Okay, the International Ice Hockey Federation, the NHL, the NHL Players Association, and the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, announced on Friday there will be NHL players playing in the 2026 and 2030 Olympic Games.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
This is what I want to see with baseball, too. Why are we sending children over there? I know we do well. I want us to send our big dogs over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I want to see the monsters play. It's like in basketball. I don't want to see these rookies or G League players. I want the dream team, man. I want us to win by 1,000. Like, not that we would in the NHL. That's not how that works. But no, Kirky, look, I'm all for it, dog. I love it. And also,
Do what?
Did you see 2026 FIFA?
2026 and 2030. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have
And the
FIFA's
only
coming to the United States 2026.
The only reason it's happening is because the NHL owners are not going to lose a nickel. They actually said that out loud.
Look, I would rather you tell me the truth.
So what is the history, Kirk, of the NHL players not being allowed to play in the Olympics?
Well, they weren't allowed to play up until 2002. No, sorry, 1998. 1998, the Czech Republic won, and it was just an amateur. It was always amateurs. And then, so it was big news in 2002, 2006, 2008, 2014, or 2010, 2014. You guys, of course, remember the Golden Goal, Sidney Crosby.
Yep.
Out in Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm sure you remember that one every morning when you wake up, Kirk.
Pretty much, especially this time of year. But about 2014, the owners are like, you know what? Our guys are going over there. They're getting hurt. They're coming back. They can't play. And the owners put a kibosh on it. And they said, listen, we need some insurances or we're not sending them over. And so I guess they worked out some deal on Friday, about 2 hours after I called in. And I was like, wow, this is massive. This is massive. Can't wait to see Connor Bedard, Connor McDavid, and Sidney Crosby on the same
God, y'all are gonna even Justin Bieber's Canadian. I mean, right? He may be all.
That's true.
Hey, let me ask you this, though, Kirk. Before we let you go, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Has Justin Bieber been doing this hockey thing for a while, or did the NHL look at Taylor Swift in the NFL and they were like, "Daddy's got an idea"?
Actually, in fairness to Justin, even though I'm not a Justin Bieber fan by any shit, he's been a diehard Leafs fan his whole life.
Gotcha.
So
Kirk, I heard you were a huge Justin Bieber fan.
Yeah, rumor has it you love him.
I heard you're a huge Justin Bieber fan.
About as much of a Flyers fan I am.
All right,
what's an update on that? Hold on. What are the standings looking like? If you don't know, Blaine and Kirk have a bet, a $50 bet that the Flyers won't finish 12.5 games behind the Leafs.
Yeah.
That's the spread on it. Where
right now, the Flyers are 25-19, all right, which isn't bad. And the Leafs, what are the Leafs?
Is the bet for points? Kirk, is the bet for 12.5 points or 12.5 wins?
12.5 wins.
Oh, points, obviously.
Points.
12.5 points.
Yeah.
Is it points? Okay. All right. I thought it was wins. I'm going to have to go back and look at that episode, to be honest.
I mean, no, well, look, it's a third of what could happen, right? I mean, you win. You
the points is what determines who wins the divisions, right, Kirk?
In reality. But Kirk, remember, Skyhook, man, you remember if it gets too thick up there, we got you, dog. Hey, wait, let me ask you this. What you think about that Good Ranchers bacon deal?
That sounds pretty good. I wonder if they deliver up here in the Great White North.
I don't know, but I will look. We'll when we come to Skyhook you, we'll make sure we bring a box with us to give you in the plane.
Yeah, do that for sure.
All right, buddy.
All right, Kirk.
See you, man. All right, let's go to Lawrence in Cleveland. Lawrence, what Cleveland are you in? Ohio? Tennessee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cleveland, Ohio.
All right. Okay, talk to us, buddy.
Well, I got to talk about this mess with the 14 playoff. I think it was really bad for Florida State.
Yeah.
It made it really bad for Georgia. It really made it bad for college football as a whole because of, I don't think it was fair that just because Alabama won and Florida State lost both of their quarterbacks, that they should be punished for what happened on the field.
Yeah.
I think it's not right.
Lawrence, I agree with you 100%.
Second, congratulations to the team up north winning that national championship.
Yeah. Thank you, Lawrence.
But 2024, 2025, Buckeyes, national champs.
They're looking good right now.
Lawrence, I'm going to be honest with you. You know, here at Crane & Company, we don't make our predictions for college football until the end of fall camp for a couple reasons. One, I got to know who's hurt. Number two, it seems like the transfer portal never closes, so I really don't know who's on your team and who's not until the week of the damn game. And then number three, I got to see who wins what job so I know who's playing because there's always some surprises, good and bad. I want to make this point about your first point, Lawrence, because I agree with you 100%. And here's why. It's not just that Florida State was left out. It was that it was contradictory with how they picked, how it finished, right? And I say this. If you're going to say it's the four best teams, then how was Georgia not in there, right? How was Florida State dropped the last week just so you could make the TV show, right, more important? And at the end of the day, I thought it was, what is a better characteristic of a championship team than to be able to win tough games without your best player? It's about who you beat. It's about when you beat them and where you beat them. And when you go 13-0 with the schedule that Florida State had, and I'll tell you this, Lawrence, their backup quarterback, Tate Rodemaker, was coming back. He was going to be able to play. So I would agree with you 100%, and I think they did it, number one, because they could, and number two, because we're going to this 12-team playoff, and they'll never have that circumstance of an undefeated Power 5 team not get in. I agree with you 100%, my friend. And I tell you what, Ohio State's this next year, I'm really, again, no predictions till fall camp, But it's going to be very hard for me not to put Georgia and Ohio State in that national championship game.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have the two best rosters for sure. And I agree with you guys as well, because we always heard the phrase win and you're in for so long when it came to the 14 playoff. I will say, looking back now, though, and we said this the moment after the selection committee got done, the playoff matchups we got were incredible.
Well, when you
Alabama-Michigan game.
Well, I think the committee knew that Florida State was going to go play in the bowl game and get killed by Georgia. And it'll make their decision look a lot better.
I think that's why
they set them up at 5 instead of moving them down. Like that's the order of it made no sense.
No sense at all.
Well, you knew the games were going to be good because we had parity throughout the year. Like you knew that was going to happen because there wasn't just one or two dominant teams like we've seen in the past. I know Michigan went undefeated, but I love what they did, but I think it'd be very hard for them to beat that Georgia team. From a couple years ago, that was the most dominant team in college football. We had multiple teams that could win it. That's why we had great games, was because of the parity. So I think the committee couldn't have been wrong when it comes down to, are we going to have good games or not? But it still doesn't mean Florida State should have been left out. But I agree.
Lawrence, I got to ask you this, man. There was a lot of Bill O'Brien rumors swirling around this weekend about would he take the Boston College job? I mean, he just got announced as the OC for the Buckeyes. What are you hearing about Bill O'Brien?
Well, I think he could really do something with this offense because Ryan Day is on the biggest hot seat ever. And it's going to get real ugly if they lose to Michigan again. He is on the biggest hot seat. Then you lose to Missouri in a bowl game. It's not looking good for him. So he got to make changes. And what I've heard about the transport portal, they could be looking, the players that they're getting in are looking good. It's like the gentleman in the middle said, it's all about who's hurt, who's starting, and the game. It's going to come down to games. I keep telling everybody, if you lose early, you got a shot getting back in. You lose late, it's a wrap.
Yeah. And I'll say this, Lawrence, too, and appreciate you calling in, man. You need to call in more. This team that Ohio State has, there's never any excuses at a place like Ohio State, but there is no excuse going into this year with what Ohio State has and with what Michigan is losing. And you get Michigan at home. Mm-hmm. And I've always said, people are like, how can Ryan Day be on the hot seat? He's the top 5 winning coach in college football. Well, there's one what I call eject button. And when you coach at a place like Ohio State, losing to Michigan will get you fired by itself. Same thing, Auburn-Alabama rivalry. That's why you can't say, oh, well, we can go 1-11, but if we beat our biggest rival, it's a successful year. Well, you can't say that and then say, oh, we went 11-1, but yeah, we've lost to our biggest rival 3 years in a row. Not saying that I don't know, Lawrence, if it would be a Ryan Day, you're fired. I think it would be a mutual parting of ways. That's what that kind of a push out of the door a little bit. But again, with what Michigan's losing, because we know this team had been accumulated for 3 years, they had a ton of experience. They got Ohio State at home. You get Michigan at home this year, you're going to have a more experienced team. We'll see how it goes, but there are no excuses, Lawrence, and it's going to be interesting.
And this is like uncharted territory for Michigan fans because we were just dealing with the same thing with Jim Harbaugh, the exact same thing, beating everyone else, going to bowl games, having a great winning percentage, but lost every single time against Urban Meyer. So, Lawrence, now that Jim Harbaugh's out of the way, I mean, there used to be whenever Jim Harbaugh got a contract extension, Buckeye fans would celebrate. Now, are you guys kind of happy that Jim Harbaugh's going back to the NFL?
Hey, I've said this numerous of times, and I remember the one episode you guys were talking about what I would like to be at the dinner table with my father and the other brother, and they'd be like, yeah, congratulations on winning the national championship. And what John gonna do? He's gonna show up that Super Bowl ring.
That's exactly right.
Every time at that dinner table, Jim is going to be fuming. He's going to be like, I had enough of this. I'm going to win this national championship. Then I'm coming back to the NFL, and I'm going to put it to you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Now, he's with the Chargers. If he gets, what's the quarterback name?
Justin Herbert. Yeah.
if he get Justin Herbert to play right and get that defense solidified, I think they could put an end to Kansas City reigns
in the same division. Yeah.
There's one guy that can put the end to the Kansas City, and he's already done it. I mean, that's Joey B. That's Joey Francis.
Yeah. Gotta stay healthy, man.
That's true, but the only guy to put Pat down in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got to fight
Tom Brady.
Fire. Just remember, there is no rivalry like sibling rivalry, Lawrence. Thank you, buddy.
Hey, that's a great call, Lawrence.
Great call.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right, that's it for call-ins today, guys.
Let's go to the Booster Club.
All right, let's go to Chris. He says, I'm curious who will be starting at Ohio State. I know Howard went there, but saying going there kind of throws a wrench into the plan.
Now, Will Howard's going to start. Will Howard didn't transfer there to sit on the bench, and obviously they're good with him. I think it's the best thing that can happen to Julian Sand now. But look, the rules are different. Like, you can play in like 4 games now and still redshirt. So, hopefully you're able to get him some experience while not just totally throwing him into the fire, which we see a lot more nowadays, not only in college football, but in the NFL. I expect Will Howard to start and Julian Sand to be the guy after him. I think that's kind of what's going on.
Let's go to George. He says, what do y'all think of James Cook's comments about the CFP committee putting Bama in because they knew Saban was retiring?
Look, I don't put anything past the committee, right? I don't put anything past them. I would not be would anybody be surprised? Would you be shocked if you found that out? I'm not saying that's...
I wouldn't be shocked by anything these days, but man, I don't know if anybody knew but Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And think about what had to happen, too, to lead up to that. They had to beat Georgia to even be in the conversation.
True. And they did. And look, nobody's saying that Alabama, wasn't a good time. We saw that game with Michigan, how tight it was, but I go back to my parity argument. I think it would be more likely, to your point, David, it would be more likely for the College Football Committee to put Alabama in because Saban was retiring than the College Football Committee to know that Saban was retiring. I kind of agree with you a little bit. I don't think anybody knew. But look, it's interesting to think about.
All right, let's go to Christopher Jordan. What is up? She says, how in the world did New Jersey get the World Cup final?
I saw that. That's wild, man. Out of all the stadiums we have, we got SoFi, we got Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta.
Well, how popular is soccer up there? Is it like, did they do it on where it's the most popular? Or would you go for size of stadium because people would travel to it? I don't know the methodology there, but I was very surprised to see that as well.
All right, let's go to Ethan. He wants to know, should Baker Mayfield win the comeback player of the year?
I think so.
Let's see. Who else would be candidates for it?
DeMar Hamlin?
Yeah, DeMar. Cooper Kupp was hurt the year before, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, did he have a kind of year to be worthy of the award?
I mean, I think it's got to be Baker, right?
I would have to see. I mean, I don't know anybody else off the top of my head that even comes close.
Well, that's why.
Baker would be a good pick.
There you go.
I think so, too. Let's go to Peter Abraham. What is up, my guys? He says, Longhorn fans need to learn from Auburn fans. What's going on with this horns down situation?
Look, I want to say this. I don't think most Texas fans have a problem with the horns down thing. I think it's just like Rodney Terry and like the higher-ups or the coaches. I don't think, because again, if you're going to say horns down is derogatory, then horns up is derogatory. You can't have your cake and eat it too. But I don't think most Texas fans and let us know in the chat or in the comments. I don't see most Texas fans have a problem with this. I think it's the people in charge. Like Rodney Terry, the UCF game, man, just shut up, dog. Take the L. Like, why are you adding this softness to it? Like, again, is it the classiest thing ever? No, but you're celebrating a win. I mean, I don't see Texas fans that are like, stop doing it. But I will say the ones that are, you better tighten up a little bit coming to the SEC. Because this, quote DeMarcus Cousins, man, they ain't walking the park over here.
Yeah. I'll tell you another comeback player of the year candidate could be Tua after going down last year.
Yeah, that's true. Did learn jiu-jitsu.
All right, Steve Belichick now going to UW for being the DC. How do you think he does with recruiting?
I mean, good. Your last name is Belichick. That's a pretty big sword to swing in a living room. But wait a minute. I thought that the college football was ruined because all the coaches are going to NFL. That's the stupidest narrative I've ever heard. They're like, Liam Cohen leaving Kentucky, going to the NFL. You mean the guy that was Sean McVay's protege at the Rams who left Kentucky to go to the Rams earlier? Oh, Jim Harbaugh's leaving college football to go to the NFL. Everybody panic. You mean the guy that went to a Super Bowl as an NFL coach? You do realize that NFL is the highest level of football, right? Like some people want to work some chefs want to work in a Michelin star restaurant, not just a mom and pop. So this whole college football coaches are abandoning. The guard changed because guys are getting older. Like, that's the way it works. Stop listening to people saying that, oh, coaches are going to start abandoning college football because of the new rules. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Every situation is circumstantial. That is such a shallow and naive way to look at guys going from college to the NFL. That's like, oh, well, you wanted to go to Harvard as opposed to going to community college? Well, I guess this community college is just getting ruined. Please stop. Let's talk about the real thing. Let's talk about real stuff. Buttered sausage, what it is, what it does.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see more young coaches designate their career path to the NFL instead of college now, though.
Again, why?
Unless we get some sort of guardrails on the rules. Like, guys just don't want to have to deal with, like, look what Tennessee's going through right now. I mean, guys don't want to have to deal with not knowing what the rules are. How can I get players here? I mean, in the NFL, it's pretty simple. How bad were you the year before? That's what pick you're going to get. Go determine who the best players are.
Well, you say that, but, I mean, Eli Manning can tell you to eat it. Caleb Williams can tell you to eat it. Like, I mean, let's be honest. But we are getting guardrails with what the Big Ten and the SEC is doing. Young coaches, I mean, guys want to go to the NFL. Like, so if that's the case, then why are coaches leaving being head coaches at Group of 5 schools to go be coordinators at Power 5 schools? If it was so bad, this Jeff Hafley thing, if Jeff Hafley didn't win 8 games next year at Boston College, he was getting fired. He was getting fired. That's why he went to the NFL, in my opinion. So I think this is just so overblown because anytime there's change in everything, everybody just freaks out instead of kind of letting it play out. But I think we are getting guardrails with the Big Ten and the SEC. This just whole narrative that because Nick Saban retired, right? Well, I guess, Bill Belichick leaving the Patriots, now that that's done, it's the NFL coaches. It's an awful spot to be in. I think it's just wrong. I think it's people reaching for a story that doesn't exist. College football, I'm telling you, with the way it's going, once we get these guardrails in with that I think we're getting, we are going to enter the golden era of college football. I really believe that.
All right, let's go to Bro Jew from the Rumble Chat. What is up, my guys? How close is softball to making money at the college level?
I don't know.
To me, it is the most entertaining of
women's sports. I agree with that. I don't know. But if college baseball barely breaks even, there's no way that college softball gets close to breaking even, right? Wouldn't you think? I just don't have the numbers on that.
All right, let's go to Chrissy, your 19. What's up, Chrissy? Says, what about Joe Flacco for comeback player of the year?
Okay, now that would be a candidate that I did not think about that could give him a run for his money. Because I mean, look, you got the Browns to the playoffs. Baker got into the playoffs. I like that.
All right, let's go to Quade Akins. Quade, what is up, my guy? Says Super Bowl is the second biggest game this week in Vegas. Says the Oilers are going to tie the record and get 17 wins in a row.
That's unbelievably impressive. Speaking of Canada, I mean, look, winning 17 games in a row in anything is tough, but doing it in a professional league, that with the parity that we've seen in the NHL, outside of expansion teams getting all the best players, I mean, look, I'm going to bet on them, right? I mean, why would I not?
And Power Slap Friday.
Yes. Power Slap Friday, baby.
In Vegas.
All right, we're going to get to donations here when I sit back down, but let's get to bets.
Bets.
All right. Man. Struggling. I am personally. We're not.
Too,
we're up in units, but godly, college basketball is just so up and down. Miami, Virginia, under 132.5. It's hard not to take an under every time Virginia plays with the style they play, the defense they play. It's what Tony Bennett and them are known for. But my guy, Will Wade, right? Down in McNeese getting paid. Even McNeese State, minus 18.5, coming off a loss. There are 13 flavors that were pissed playing Texas A&M Commerce tonight. Give me McNeese State minus 18.5.
All right, I'm going to take the Miami and Virginia under 132.5. That's at minus 112. And then I'm also going to take the Kansas State under 146, minus 115.
Should be a good game.
All right, love it. Give me Kansas on the road at Kansas State, minus 5. Like Kansas is playing really good basketball right now. Then I'm going with the Vandals, baby. Give me Idaho plus 4.5 at home, minus 114.
The only vandalism that's acceptable. Ace. Having a good month so far. He's going to take Miami plus 5.5. That's at minus 112. Then he's going to go Jerome Tang, which was a great drink back in the day, and Kansas State plus 5 at minus 118.
All right, let's get to some donations here today. Let's go to Nick Bates with the $5 donation. Nick, appreciate it, brother. He says, I'm starting a game of a tic-tac-toe dono with my brother Brian, who's another big fan. He says, I'm choosing Center Square X.
Center Square X. All right, hold on. Let me
go ahead and get that down.
Let me write this down. Center Square X.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to go Nick, Center Square X. All right, started it.
All right, let's go to Chase Mills with the $2 donation. Been doing my whole life, dog. So is Caleb Williams a lock for the number 2 pick now?
Lock for the number 2 pick?
Number 2.
Yeah, you mean with Cliff Kingsbury going to Washington?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he coached him last year. It's going to be interesting because Caleb Williams did go to high school in Washington, D.C. too. I don't know.
Well, who would you take? Would you take Drake May? You're the OC. Would you take Drake May or Caleb Williams?
If I'm Washington,
if you're Washington,
and I have the number 2 pick, so if I wanted the number 1 pick, I have to move up, right?
Yeah. Let's just say it's a perfect scenario, and you get to pick between the two. Not even what happened to get there. Who are you taking?
I'm starting to feel like I might take Drake May. But I'd want to see. I would need to have the access that GMs have.
Yeah.
Right. Like they have all the access, all the meetings, the pro days, all that kind of stuff. I think they both can be really good. I don't know. I'm just starting to think more and more of the off the field stuff with Caleb Williams doesn't lead to like extreme long-term success.
You better ball. If you're going to do that off the field, you better ball.
All right, let's go to Ryan Gady with a $5 donation. Ryan, appreciate it, brother. He says, on Saturday, BYU played West Virginia in Morgantown in men's basketball, and women's played BYU played West Virginia in Utah. Both of these games were 6 p.m. Eastern tip.
Wow. Interesting.
Extremely.
I didn't know that. BYU, fun basketball team to watch. Real fun. They get hot. I tell you, they get hot from 3. I mean, they got two guys that can. I mean, it's a splash festival. By the way, if you haven't seen the Avila guy from Indiana State, who's like 20-1, bro, he looks like Dmitry Petrovich off Backyard Baseball out there, just absolutely splashing.
Didn't he have the goggles?
Oh God,
the goggles on.
It's a splash fest out there.
Let's go to Ruka 617 from the Daily Wire chat. # Brian from Boston. All right, he says, best and worst of the week, Jake's hair in studio versus Jake's hair out of studio.
I don't know what that means. Like my hair out of the studio was better?
Okay, so no. So best and worst.
Okay.
All right, so hair in studio, that means you're here.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the best. Out of studio. So when we were at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
You didn't do his hair for him?
That's on me. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
It slowly moves. If you know anything, like my hair is so thick, it's just got an absolute mind of its own.
That is true. All right, let's go to SGB. So did my boy Ladd McConkey elevate his stock to a late first round pick?
I don't think late first round. I don't think he's going to go first round. I would be very surprised. I'm interested to see where Ricky Pearsall goes. That's what I want to see. That's my biggest thing.
All right, one more, then we'll get to the poll. Ethan says Joe Flacco only played half a season when Baker Mayfield played the entire season.
Yeah.
Even through injuries, I don't see how Baker doesn't win this.
That'll probably be the thing that tips it to Baker, but what Joe Flacco did shocked me. Very few things shock me nowadays, David. I'm in the same camp with you. That shocked me. All right, let's get to the poll.
All right, which campus is the ugliest in the SEC? And this was brought to me by a Booster Club member. I believe Jake tweeted this. And he gave me the top 4. It was Mississippi State, A&M, Florida, and Alabama.
I would say, and I know we got Mississippi State fans out there. I love Starkville. I mean, there's really no loser in this because they're all nice campuses. But if you have to pick a loser, I would say Mississippi State, 46%.
I haven't been to College Station. I think that's the only one I haven't been to. So because I hadn't been there, I'll just say College Station, 45%.
All right, Bama, 20%. Florida, 20%. A&M, 19%. Mississippi State, 41%.
God, I'm all over it.
Starkville.
All over it. All right, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you keep sharing the show. We appreciate y'all. Good job in the chat today.
Yeah, man, good job.
All right, appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all check us out. And like Senior Bowl 2024, we're going. Oh, that would have been clutch. Gone.